My name is Camille Arden. I'm 32. I used to think stability was something you could build. Brick by brick, bill by bill, small promises kept so consistently that chaos would eventually get bored and leave you alone. In my world, competence didn't announce itself. It hummed. It was the dishwasher scheduled for off-peak at 12:01 a.m., the rent paid 2 days early, the little green check marks in my budget app, the calm, quiet rhythm of a life that didn't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. And I loved Noah Pierce inside that rhythm. Noah, my boyfriend, my husband in everything but paperwork for a long time until we actually made it legal, had this way of calling me careful, like it was half a compliment and half a joke. He'd kiss my forehead while I balanced a spreadsheet, like my need to know where every dollar went was an adorable quirk. Camille, he'd say, smiling, you plan everything like the world's going to try something. I'd always answer the same way. Because it does. I just didn't know the world was going to try something through him. It started on a Tuesday afternoon, one of those stretches at work where your brain has already sprinted through 3 meetings and your body is still sitting in the chair pretending you're fine. I had 10 minutes before the next call, so I did what everyone does when they want their mind to disappear for a second. I opened Instagram. I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't hunting for signs. I was just scrolling, letting the algorithm toss shiny things at me like a bored toddler, and then I clicked suggested for you. That was my mistake. A profile popped up. Simple, aesthetic, the kind of account people follow because it makes them feel like they're witnessing someone's healing journey. The profile picture was a silhouette against a sunset, hair blowing, head tilted like a movie poster. The username was something like Unchained Butterfly, with a year tagged onto it. Not exact, but that's what it felt like. A brand. A narrative. The top post stopped my thumb, because the background was my kitchen. Not a kitchen. My kitchen. The weird tile pattern Noah and I argued about when we moved in 3 years ago, me insisting it was character, him calling it a design crime. The scuff on the cabinet corner, the hanging plant I kept alive out of pure spite. Even the stupid little fruit bowl my sister gave us that Noah said looked like it belonged in a retirement home. And the caption underneath it read, "My marriage is a cage, planning my escape soon." I froze so hard it felt like my blood had turned into ice water. For a second, I tried to tell myself it was coincidence. People have white cabinets. People have hanging plants. People have ugly tiles. But my eyes slid to the left edge of the photo where a sliver of the fridge showed, and there it was. The magnet shaped like a tiny blue fish. The one my niece made in kindergarten. The one that said Aunt Camille in crooked marker. My chest tightened, sharp and fast, like my body knew the truth before my mind was ready to accept it. I tapped the profile. Public account. 5,200 followers. I sat there, the office noise fading into a dull buzz behind my ears as I scrolled. Post after post after post. Quotes about narcissists, about control disguised as love, about being trapped in a safe-looking life. Selfies taken at angles, never a full face shot, always half a cheek, a piece of hair, a collarbone, like the account was trying to be anonymous without actually being anonymous. And in the backgrounds, my life, our living room, our couch. The neighborhood coffee shop Noah loved because the barista knew his order. Our car, my car, parked in the same spot outside our building. A photo of a yoga mat on our rug, captioned, "Finding myself again, soon." The comments were worse than the posts. You go, leave him. Narcissists never change. Document everything for the divorce. A cage is still a cage, even if it's pretty. And Noah was replying. Heart emojis. Soft, grateful words. Thank you, I'm building my plan. Not yet. I have to be smart. I'm getting there, one step at a time. Then I saw the one that made my stomach drop through the floor. A follower asked, "Does she know?" Noah replied, "Not yet, building my exit strategy first." Exit strategy. Like I was a prison. Like I was a villain in some story he was selling to strangers, one inspirational caption at a time. My hands started moving before I even fully realized what I was doing. Screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. Every post, every comment, every reply where he hinted at money, at freedom, at getting out. A part of me wanted to throw my phone across the room. Another part wanted to drive home and confront him so loudly the neighbors would learn our names. But something colder, something calmer, slid into place like a lock turning. Don't react, document. So I did what I always do when reality starts shaking. I reached for the one person who doesn't let emotions steer the car. I called my older sister, Marianne. She answered on the second ring. Hey, Cam, everything okay? I didn't even pretend. No. There was a pause, small but immediate. Her voice sharpened. Where are you? At work. Are you safe? Yes, I swallowed. But I just found something, and I need you to listen all the way through before you say anything. Okay, she said quietly. Talk. So I told her. The silhouette account, the kitchen photo, the caption, the followers, the exit strategy. When I finished, there was silence on the line. Then Marianne exhaled, slow and controlled, like she was trying not to say the first thing in her head. Camille, she said, do not go home and blow up. I wasn't going to, I lied. Don't lie to me. You sound like you're vibrating. Her voice hardened. Listen, if he's building a narrative, you need facts. You need proof. You need to protect yourself. I have screenshots, I said. Good. Keep them somewhere he can't access. Email them to me. Back them up. And Camille. Her voice dipped lower, serious. If you confront him before you're ready, he'll flip it. He'll cry. He'll say you're controlling because you invaded his privacy. He's already practicing that story for 5,000 people. My throat burned. So what do I do? Marianne paused. Then she said something that made my spine straighten. You beat him to it. The words landed like a match. I stared at my phone, at Noah's curated pain, at my own life turned into a set for his victim brand. And I realized something. He wasn't just leaving me. He was trying to leave me as a monster. I hung up with Marianne and went back to my desk like nothing was wrong. I smiled in the next meeting. I nodded at the right moments. I laughed once, when someone made a joke I barely heard. But inside, I was building my own plan. That evening, I walked into our apartment with my face arranged into normal. Noah was on the couch, scrolling, thumb moving like it always did, fast and mindless. If I hadn't known, I would have assumed he was watching reels. Maybe he was watching himself. Hey, I said lightly, setting my keys down. How was your day? He glanced up and smiled, the same smile that used to make me feel chosen. Fine, he said. Work was whatever. You? Same old. I leaned down and kissed his cheek. He smelled like the cologne I bought him. I'm going to watch that documentary in the bedroom. You good out here? Yeah, he said quickly. I'm just unwinding. I went into the bedroom and closed the door. Then I sat on the edge of the bed, opened my laptop, and did what Noah had been doing for months. I created an account. Nothing dramatic, no glittery username, no sad silhouette. Just a plain profile, a neutral photo, a bio that said nothing except the truth. And then I posted. First post, a screenshot of his cage caption, cropped to hide the username, just enough to show the words and the kitchen tile. My caption? Found out my boyfriend has been running a secret Instagram for months, telling 5,000 strangers I'm a toxic narcissist while he lives in the home I pay for. Here's the truth about this cage. Second post, a screenshot of our shared calendar. Date nights, weekend trips, couples therapy sessions I suggested when I felt him drifting. Caption. Apparently being controlling means planning date nights, cooking dinner, and begging someone to talk to me when something feels off. My bad. Third post. A blurred bank statement. Rent, utilities, car insurance, groceries. Caption. The cage he's trapped in, the one I pay for, fully. I didn't tag him. I didn't say his name. I just followed about 30 mutual friends. Then I set my phone down and waited. 20 minutes later, my screen lit up like a fire alarm. Not Noah. His ex-girlfriend Maya first, because of course it was Maya. Yo, UTF, is this? Did you really just post about your relationship online? I stared at her message, my pulse steadying into something colder. I typed, just sharing my side. He's been sharing his to 5,200 people for months. More messages came in. Friends, acquaintances, people who'd smiled at us at parties. Follower count climbing, 50, 100, 200. And then, at exactly 10 o'clock p.m., the bedroom door swung open. Noah stood there like he'd been drained of color. His phone was in his hand, shaking. And the first thing he said was an apology. It was panic. We need to talk, he whispered, voice tight. I looked up from my laptop like I had all the time in the world. About what? I asked. His eyes flashed, anger trying to cover fear. You know what? He said. Your Instagram. What the hell are you doing? I tilted my head, calm on purpose. Just sharing my experience, I said. Freedom of speech, right? Or is that only okay when you're doing it? His jaw clenched. That's different, he snapped. That account was private. I blinked once. Your account had 5,200 followers, I said softly. That's not private, Noah. That's broadcasting. He flinched like I'd slapped him. How did you even find it? He demanded. It doesn't matter, I said. What matters is you've been telling thousands of strangers I'm abusive and controlling while living in the home I pay for, driving the car I pay for, using the life you're calling a cage. I never said you were abusive, he shot back too fast. I picked up my phone and held it out. A screenshot. His reply under a comment, emotional abuse is still abuse. Noah stared at it. And for the first time that night, he had no words. His throat worked, his eyes shined. Then he said it, like a weapon, like a threat, like he wanted me to be the one who swung first so he could post about it later. I want a divorce. I nodded once, slow. Cool, I said. I'll call a lawyer tomorrow. His face twisted. You can't just kick me out. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Actually, I said, the lease is in my name. You're not on it. His mouth opened, then closed. I stood, walked past him, and opened the bedroom door wider, like I was granting him exactly what he'd been begging the internet for. You wanted freedom, I said quietly. Congratulations. His eyes filled, tears appearing like a script cue. You're being cruel, he whispered. I looked at him, really looked, and felt something inside me go still. I'm being honest, I said. There's a difference. Behind him, in the living room, his phone buzzed again. And I knew, before he even checked, that his secret account had gone private. Too late. I had the screenshots. And now the whole story was moving, like a boulder rolling downhill, slow at first, then unstoppable. Noah backed away like he didn't recognize me. But I wasn't new. I was just finally awake. The next morning I woke up before my alarm, eyes snapping open like my body had been standing guard all night. The apartment was too quiet. Noah's side of the bed was empty, the sheets pulled tight like he'd never been there. For a second, a stupid, hopeful part of me thought maybe he'd gone for an early coffee run. Maybe he'd come back with that sheepish grin and say, okay, I messed up, let's talk. But then I heard it. A car horn outside. Short, sharp, impatient. Not a friend, not an Uber. Family. I stepped to the window and pushed the curtain aside, just enough to see the street. A silver SUV veered at the curb like it owned the block. And in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel, like she was ready to ram the building, sat Gwen Pierce, Noah's mother. She had the posture of a woman who believed rules were for other people. Even from 3 stories up, I could feel her anger vibrating through the glass. I didn't have time to process it before the bedroom door clicked open behind me. Noah was standing there with a duffel bag in one hand and his phone in the other, eyes red, face puffy, like he'd been practicing tears in the mirror all night. He didn't say good morning. He didn't say sorry. He didn't say anything. He just walked past me like I was furniture. Where are you going? My voice came out quieter than I expected, controlled. He paused in the hallway, half-turned, like he was deciding which version of himself to perform. Somewhere safe, he said. Safe. As if I was the danger. I let out a breath through my nose. You're leaving because you got caught. His jaw tightened. You humiliated me. I laughed once, short and humorless. You humiliated yourself. For months. His fingers clenched around the strap of the duffel bag. You had no right. You had no right to turn our life into content, I said, and the words landed like metal. You were building an audience to hate me before you even told me you were unhappy. He flinched, just a flicker, then looked away like that was too close to the truth. The horn sounded again. Gwen was done waiting. Noah started for the door. Your stuff is still here, I said. We'll schedule a time, not today. He didn't answer. He opened the door and left. No goodbye. No final look. Just the soft click of the lock closing behind him, like the end of a scene in a movie where the audience screams at the screen because they know the villain is about to get away. Except he wasn't getting away. He was running to someone who would call it self-care. I watched from the window as he stepped outside. Gwen leaned across his passenger seat, popped the door open, and Noah slid in like a child escaping punishment. She didn't look up at my building. She didn't have to. Her anger was already on its way upstairs. The SUV peeled off like a getaway car. And that was it. The apartment was mine again. But it didn't feel like mine. It felt like a stage after the actors leave. Lights still hot, props still in place, air thick with what just happened. My phone buzzed, then buzzed again. Then again, Instagram. I'd forgotten, for a moment, that I had poured gasoline on a fire and thrown a match. When I opened the app, my notifications looked like a slot machine stuck on jackpot. Messages, follows, comments. My follower count had doubled overnight. And with it came the thing I should have expected but still wasn't ready for. Strangers. People who didn't know me, didn't know Noah, didn't know the way he used to hum while cooking pasta like we were normal. These people had opinions. Some were supportive. Good for you. Facts only. My ex did this too. Secret victim narrative. Document everything. Don't let him rewrite your life. Others were vicious. Men like you are why women feel trapped. You're abusive for posting receipts. This is exactly what narcissists do. Control the story. I stared at that last one for a long time, my stomach twisting. Because the sickest part about the internet is that it loves a label more than it loves the truth. And Noah had already handed them mine. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself to strangers. I'd done enough of that. I was about to set my phone down when it rang. An actual call. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Big mistake. Before I could even say hello, a voice slammed into my ear like a door kicked open. How dare you? Gwen. Of course. I pulled the phone away from my face for half a second like her volume had physical force. Then I brought it back. Hi, Gwen. Don't hi Gwen me, she shrieked. Do you have any idea what you've done to my son? I leaned against the kitchen counter, the same one in Noah's photos, and stared at the tile pattern like it might keep me steady. He did it to himself, I said flatly. You humiliated him publicly, Gwen shouted. He's devastated. He hasn't eaten. He can't sleep. You exposed his private thoughts to the world. I let the silence stretch just long enough to make her hear herself. Then I said, his private thoughts were posted publicly to 5,000 people. That was his support system, she snapped. That was his safe space. A public Instagram account isn't a safe space, I said, voice calm enough to be cruel. It's a broadcasting platform. He chose to tell the world, I'm a cage. I chose to respond with facts. You posted financial information, she accused. I posted my financial information, I corrected, blurred, to show that I paid for everything he was calling oppression. You're abusive, Gwen spat. You're controlling. You're exactly what he said you are. I almost smiled, because there it was. The script. The same word Noah's followers had been using, now coming out of his mother's mouth like she'd been taking notes. We're calling a lawyer, she said, suddenly triumphant. He deserves compensation for this harassment. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Cool, I said. Tell your lawyer I documented every post Noah made for the past 6 months, including the ones where he discussed exit strategy and hinted at draining accounts to fund it. Silence. Real silence this time. The kind where you can hear someone recalculating their confidence. Gwen's voice came back smaller, tighter. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the screenshots, I said. All of them. Time-stamped. Backed up. Her breathing turned sharp. Then, click. She hung up. I stared at my phone for a moment after the call ended, my hand still holding it like it might explode. And then the doorbell rang. Not a buzz. Not a tap. A firm press like someone expected to be let in. My body went cold in an instant. I walked to the door on silent feet and checked the peephole. A woman stood in the hallway with her arms crossed and her chin lifted like she was a prosecutor. Maya Ellis, Noah's ex-girlfriend. The one he swore was just a chapter. The one who apparently still had access to the whole book. I didn't open the door. I checked my camera feed on my phone instead, because if Noah taught me anything, it was that documentation saves you. Maya leaned toward the door and said, loud enough for the hallway to hear, Camille, open up. I cracked the door with the chain on, she said, just enough to let my voice out. Can I help you? Yes, she said immediately. You can take down those posts and apologize. I blinked slowly. No. Maya's eyes flashed. She's having a breakdown. I stared at her. Who's she? Maya's lips pressed tight, caught. Then she recovered fast, like a professional liar. Noah, he's not okay. This is spiraling. You got your revenge. Congratulations. Now stop. That word again. Revenge. Like I was the aggressor. Like I'd hunted him down instead of stumbling into his secret life by accident. He's not okay because he got caught, I said. That's not the same thing. Maya's face hardened. You're destroying his reputation. He built an online presence calling me a narcissist, I said. I provided context. If his reputation is damaged, he did that himself. People are attacking him, Maya snapped. The comments on his posts, before he went private, they were brutal. I held her gaze. Consequences. Wild concept. Maya inhaled sharply, then lowered her voice, like she was about to deliver the line she thought would make me fold. He's talking about hurting himself. My breath caught. For half a second, my mind flashed to Noah on the couch, laughing at dumb sitcom jokes. Noah making coffee. Noah leaning into my shoulder at weddings. Then the other image slammed in. Noah replying to strangers with heart emojis while they called me abusive. Exit strategy. Cage. I knew this trick. I'd watched him use it in smaller ways for years. Tears when he wanted me to drop a boundary. Sadness when he wanted me to stop asking questions. Pain as leverage. But still, I didn't play with self-harm threats, even if they were manipulation. I took a step back from the door, still chained, and pulled out my phone. Maya's eyes narrowed. What are you doing? I started dialing, calling 911. Her face changed instantly. No, don't do that. I paused with my thumb hovering. You just told me he might hurt himself. He's just emotional, she snapped, suddenly panicked. He doesn't need cops showing up. I looked at her, my voice ice. Then don't use it as a weapon. I hit call. Maya swore under her breath and stepped back like I'd splashed her with acid. I spoke clearly to the dispatcher, gave Noah's name, his mother's address if I could guess it, the concern Maya claimed. Then I hung up. Maya stared at me like I was the monster now. You're heartless, she hissed. No, I said quietly. I'm done being manipulated. Maya's hand shot forward, fast, trying to wedge her foot into the gap as if she could force her way into my home. I pushed the door closed before she could. The chain rattled. Her face was right there in the crack, twisted with fury. You can't do this, she spat. I just did, I said, and slid the deadbolt. Through the camera feed, I watched her stand there for a full minute, breathing hard, probably texting Noah updates like she was reporting from enemy territory. Then she turned and stalked away. My hands were shaking when I finally stepped back from the door. Not from fear of Maya, from the realization that Noah hadn't just been lying to strangers. He'd recruited people. He'd built a small army out of sympathy and hashtags. And now they were at my doorstep. My phone buzzed again. New messages. And then an email notification from a Gmail address I didn't recognize. Subject line, stop this now. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I could feel what it was trying to do already. Guilt, pressure, exhaustion. A slow drip designed to make me cave. And the worst part? It was working. On my body, not my mind. My chest felt tight. My shoulders hurt like I'd been carrying something heavy for weeks. I walked into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall like it might tell me what happens next. Then my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered this time with a steadier voice. Hello? A man spoke, crisp and professional. Ms. Arden, this is Harold Kemp. I represent Mr. Pierce in a potential defamation matter. Of course. I closed my eyes. The parade had officially begun. He continued, your posts constitute harassment and invasion of privacy. If they are not removed immediately, we will pursue this aggressively. I opened my eyes and stared down at my own hands. Then I said evenly, truth is a complete defense to defamation. Everything I posted is factual and provable. A pause. And, I added, your client posted publicly first. 5,000 followers. I didn't use his name. I didn't tag him. I posted my own documents. Paper shuffling on his end, like he was flipping through a script looking for a better line. You posted financial documents without his consent, he said. My financial documents, I repeated. My lease, my bills, my accounts. Another pause, shorter this time, less confident. We'll be in touch, he said tightly. I can't wait, I replied and hung up. My heart was pounding now. Not from panic, from anger, from the sheer audacity of Noah making me the criminal for exposing his performance. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I did what Marianne told me to do. I called her. When she answered, I said only 3 words. It's escalating. And Marianne, without missing a beat, replied, Good, now we do it right. If there's a moment when denial finally dies, it's the one where strangers start inventorying your kitchen. Saturday morning arrived gray and sharp, the kind of cold that doesn't belong to weather so much as consequence. I hadn't slept more than an hour at a time, my brain stuck in that loop where it keeps replaying conversations you wish you'd recorded, words you wish you'd said slower, louder, earlier. At 9:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Noah. We're coming by at 10 to get my things. No question mark, no request. Just a declaration. I typed back immediately. I said we'd schedule a time. I'm not comfortable being alone with you. Bring whoever you want. I'll be here. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, fine. I didn't wait. I spent the next 45 minutes doing what I do best when chaos threatens to rewrite reality. I prepared. I boxed his clothes first. Folded, labeled, stacked. Shoes in one box, toiletries in another. His books, his old gaming console, the stupid blender he insisted on buying because it was industrial strength. I filmed everything. Slow pans, clear angles, one continuous video. Because if the past week had taught me anything, it was that memory is optional. Documentation isn't. At exactly 10:02 a.m., the doorbell rang. Not a polite ring. A press and hold like someone wanted the entire building to know they were here. I checked the doorbell camera. My stomach tightened. The hallway looked like a hostile takeover. Noah stood front and center, eyes rimmed red, shoulders slumped in practiced defeat. To his left was Gwen, arms crossed, lips thin with purpose. To his right, Maya, chin high, eyes already scanning like she was casing the place. Behind them stood a man I didn't recognize, big, broad, the kind of guy who thinks silence is intimidating. And parked outside, visible through the camera's wide angle, a U-Haul. I exhaled slowly. So that was the plan. I opened the door with my phone already recording. "Here for your things," I said calmly. "Don't you dare record me," Gwen snapped. "Public hallway," I replied. "I can record whatever I want." Noah didn't look at me. Not once. He stepped inside like he was entering enemy territory, eyes darting, jaw clenched. Maya followed immediately, already craning her neck toward the living room like she expected to find hidden treasure. I stepped aside and gestured to the stack of boxes I'd arranged neatly against the wall. "Everything of yours is there," I said. "Clothes, personal items, electronics." "That's not everything," Gwen said sharply, already marching toward the kitchen. I moved fast enough to block her. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Checking," she said. "He bought most of this stuff." I smiled, thin and sharp. "I bought the dishes at Target in 2021, I said, "before we got married. I can pull up the receipt if you want." Gwen scoffed and reached for a cabinet anyway. I held up my phone. Smile. She froze. Maya was already in the bedroom. "Where's his jewelry box?" she called. "In the hallway box labeled Noah Personal," I answered. "Top layer." "How do we know you didn't take anything?" Maya snapped. I turned my phone screen toward her and pressed play. The video started. Me, packing the box, item by item, camera steady, timestamp visible. Maya's mouth tightened. The big guy, the random one, stepped closer to me, chest puffed. "You treating women like this?" he said lowly. I didn't look away. "You're lucky I don't—" "Don't what?" I interrupted, my voice calm enough to rattle him. "Assault me in my own apartment while I'm recording?" He shifted back a half step. "Good." Noah finally spoke. His voice cracked. "Camille, you don't have to make this so hostile." I stared at him. "You showed up with a U-Haul," I said. "You brought a team. You didn't ask. Don't pretend this is about peace." He looked down. Tears appeared right on cue. Gwen swooped in instantly. "He's devastated," she said, loud enough to fill the room. "You've been cruel from the start." I gestured toward the boxes. "Everything that belongs to him is there." "That couch," Maya said suddenly, pointing. "He picked that out." I nodded. "I paid for it. It stays." "The TV?" Gwen demanded. "Mine. Receipts in my email from 2020. They moved through the apartment like vultures, opening drawers, scanning surfaces, hunting for anything they could argue over. Every time I had an answer, a receipt, a date, a video, because I had already grieved the relationship. What I wasn't willing to lose was reality. After 2 exhausting hours, they'd loaded the U-Haul, not because there was that much, but because Gwen kept insisting on claiming things that weren't hers, slowing everything down to wear me out. As they headed toward the door, Noah finally turned to me. "You know what?" he said, voice trembling. "I'm glad this happened. I'm finally free from you." I looked at him, really looked, at the man who had lived with me, eaten my food, slept beside me, and secretly built an audience to cheer when he left. "Sign the divorce papers when they arrive," I said, "and move on." His eyes flashed. "I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you really are." I nodded once. "You already tried that." He flinched. They left. I locked the door behind them and slid the deadbolt into place. The apartment was silent again, but this time it felt earned. I sank onto the floor with my back against the door, breathing hard, hands finally shaking now that the adrenaline had nowhere to go. My phone buzzed. Instagram. I had 273 new DMs. Some cruel, some kind, some terrifying in how confidently wrong they were. I didn't read them. Instead, I posted one final update. I don't hate my ex. I refuse to be villainized for providing stability while he built a fantasy narrative online. This relationship ended because of dishonesty, not disagreement. That's the story. Then I turned my phone off. For the rest of the day, I cleaned. Not obsessively, deliberately. I stripped the bed, changed the sheets, reorganized the closet, moved the couch 6 inches to the left, just to prove I could. That night, as I lay alone in a bed that finally felt like mine, I realized something that made my chest ache in a new, quieter way. Noah hadn't just left. He'd tried to take the truth with him. And when that didn't work, he'd tried to take more, which meant this wasn't over. It was just changing venues. 2 weeks passed. Not quietly, just without Noah physically in the apartment. Emotionally, he was everywhere. In the corners of rooms where arguments used to happen. In the way my phone buzzed, and my shoulders tensed before I even looked. In the strange, hollow relief of coming home to silence instead of tension. I thought the worst part would be over once he left. I was wrong. The email from my lawyer arrived on a Wednesday morning. Subject line neutral, but ominous. Initial demands from opposing counsel. I opened it while my coffee cooled, already bracing myself. By the time I reached the bottom, I was laughing. Not because it was funny, because it was delusional. Noah was requesting $2,500 a month in spousal support for rehabilitation. Half the security deposit on the apartment, paid entirely by me. 50% of my retirement account. The car, still in my name, still on my insurance, still with my monthly payments attached. $5,000 for emotional damages related to public humiliation. 4 years of marriage. No joint assets. No contributions. And yet, rehabilitation. Like he'd survived a war instead of a relationship he'd been quietly trashing online for months. My lawyer, Andrea, called me 5 minutes later. "I just want you to know," she said, voice dry. I actually laughed out loud when I read this. I leaned back in my chair. "So I'm not crazy?" "No," she said, "they are." "What's the response?" I asked. "Nothing," Andrea replied. "Clean split. You keep what's yours. He keeps what's his. No support." I exhaled, tension easing just a little. And when they say that's unreasonable, Andrea didn't miss a beat. I say their demands are fictional. I should have known that logic wouldn't end it. Because Noah didn't want resolution. He wanted an audience. 3 days later, Marianne sent me a link. Just a link. No commentary. I knew before I clicked. TikTok. Noah's face filled the screen the second the video loaded. Softer lighting, eyes red, hoodie pulled tight around his neck like armor. He was sitting in what I recognized instantly as his childhood bedroom. Posters still on the wall. His old dresser behind him. Nostalgia as set design. The caption read, "Escaping financial abuse, telling my truth." I watched the video in silence. Noah spoke slowly, carefully, like every word had been tested in a focus group. He talked about feeling trapped, about being controlled through money, about how I took everything when he left, his home, his car, his security. He didn't mention that the apartment was mine before we married. He didn't mention that the car was mine before we married. He didn't mention that he worked part-time by choice while I paid the rest. The comments were already rolling in. "This is heartbreaking. Financial abuse is real. She sounds like a narcissist. Men don't talk about this enough." The video had 15,000 views in 2 days. I didn't cry. I didn't throw my phone. I screen recorded everything. Every video. Every caption. Every comment Noah liked. Then I sent them to Andrea. Her reply came back fast. "Do not engage emotionally, but if he continues, we document. If you choose to respond publicly, do it once, with facts." I stared at my phone for a long time. I didn't want to do this again. I didn't want to be on another stage. But I also wasn't going to let him redefine abuse because he didn't like boundaries. That night, I created a TikTok account. One video. No filters. No music. Just me, sitting at my kitchen table, the same one he called a cage. I propped my phone up and hit record. "Hi," I said calmly. "Apparently I'm a financial abuser. So let's talk about that." I held up bank statements. Account numbers blurred, names visible. "This is the account we use for rent and utilities. Noah had full access. Here are the withdrawals. Here's proof he used it freely." I flipped to another page. "This is my account, where rent, utilities, and insurance were paid from. By me." Another. "These are his pay stubs, part-time, about $1,200 a month." Another. "And here's where that money went. Coffee shops, boutique clothing, classes, while I covered everything else." I looked straight into the camera. Financial abuse is real. This isn't it. What Noah means when he says I controlled money is that I wouldn't give him mine without accountability. I ended the video and posted it. Then I went to bed. When I woke up, my phone was vibrating so hard it rattled against the nightstand. 50,000 views. The comments had turned. Hard. So he had access, but didn't contribute. This is why real abuse victims aren't believed. Paying the bills isn't control. He wanted benefits without responsibility. By noon, Noah's TikTok was private. Too late. People had already saved my video, reposted it, duetted it. Andrea texted me. "Good, now stop." So I did. I logged out. I didn't post again. But Noah wasn't done escalating. Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang at work. The caller ID showed my apartment complex. "Hi, Camille," the manager said carefully. "I just wanted to inform you. Someone claiming to be your husband tried to access your apartment today using an old key." My heart dropped straight into my stomach. "What?" I asked. "Our maintenance technician saw him trying the door around 11, she continued. "When approached, he said he lived there and had lost his new key. The tech asked for ID. He left." I didn't answer right away. I opened my doorbell app, and there he was. Noah, standing in the hallway like he belonged there. trying the lock, jiggling the handle, looking over his shoulder. Then, when a neighbor's door opened, walking away fast. I forwarded the footage to Andrea immediately. Her response was instant. "This is serious. Attempted unauthorized entry. Do not engage. We'll add this to the file." I sat at my desk staring at my screen, hands cold. The internet drama had crossed into real life. That night, the emails started. Different Gmail addresses. Same tone. "You've done enough. Let it go. She's not eating." "You won. Why keep hurting him? A real woman would forgive." I didn't respond to a single one. I just forwarded them all, because I finally understood the strategy. This wasn't about truth. It was about exhaustion. If Noah couldn't win with sympathy, he'd win by wearing me down. And the only way to lose that game was not to play. By the time Friday rolled around, I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. Not the kind of tired sleep fixes. The deeper kind that settles into your bones and makes even small decisions feel heavy. Noah's strategy had become clear. If he couldn't bully me into silence, he'd exhaust me into surrender. The emails kept coming. Different addresses, same language. Always just reasonable enough to sound moral. "You already proved your point. Why keep dragging this out? He's fragile. Be the bigger person." They weren't threats. They were guilt grenades. And they were effective on my nervous system, if not my judgment. Marianne came over Friday night with pizza and a look that said she wasn't asking permission. She kicked off her shoes, took one glance at my face, and shook her head. "He's trying to outlast you," she said. "I know," I replied. "It's working." She dropped onto the couch beside me. "No, it's annoying you. That's different." I let out a weak laugh. I feel like my whole life turned into a group chat I can't leave. Marianne leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "Listen to me. You don't win this by being kinder. You win it by being boring." I already stopped posting. "Good," she said. "Now you funnel everything through Andrea. No more explanations. No more defending. Silence is a boundary." I nodded, even though my chest felt tight, because silence feels like losing when you've spent weeks correcting lies. Saturday morning, I woke up to a voicemail. Unknown number. I almost deleted it without listening, but something told me not to. Gwen's voice filled the room, trembling this time. "Camille, this has gone too far. He's falling apart. He hasn't eaten in days. You got your revenge. Please, just stop. Think about the kind of person you want to be." I stared at the wall while she spoke. The manipulation had evolved. Less rage. More martyrdom. I didn't call her back. Instead, I forwarded the voicemail to Andrea. Andrea replied with one sentence. "Post one final notice, then disengage completely." I thought about it all day. About the fear Noah kept trying to trigger. About the hope he kept dangling. That if I just gave him something, he'd finally go away. By evening, I knew what I needed to do. I reopened TikTok. One last video. I didn't look tired. I didn't look angry. I looked done. "This is my final update," I said calmly. "I'm handling this through legal channels. Noah, stop contacting me. Stop sending people to my home. Stop trying to access my apartment. Sign the divorce papers when they arrive." I paused, eyes steady. "To everyone else, thanks for the concern. This account is finished. I'm choosing real life." I ended the video. Then I deactivated the account. Instagram too. No goodbye post. No lingering comment section. Just off. For the first time in weeks, my phone was quiet. Monday morning, Andrea called. "They want to settle." I closed my eyes. "What are they offering?" "Clean split," she said. "No more online posting from either side. Mutual non-disparagement. You keep your assets." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Yes." "Good," Andrea replied. "I'll draft it." I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. That afternoon, building security called. "There's a woman in the lobby screaming your name," the guard said carefully. "Claims she's your ex's mother." I pressed my lips together. "I'm not coming down." "You don't have to," he assured me. "She's being escorted out." When I got home that night, my boss emailed me. "Hope everything's okay. Drama follows some people, I guess." I stared at the screen, then laughed softly. "Tell me about it," I muttered. The exhaustion finally caught up with me that night. Not sadness, not heartbreak, just deep cellular fatigue. I wasn't mourning the relationship anymore. I was mourning the energy it took to survive it. And for the first time since this started, I believed, really believed, that Noah was running out of moves. Because chaos only works when someone reacts. And I was done reacting. Court didn't look like television. There were no dramatic gasps, no pounding gavels, no last-minute confessions that flipped the room upside down. It looked like beige walls, uncomfortable chairs, and a judge who had already seen every version of this story, just with different faces. The morning of the hearing, I woke up calm in a way that surprised me. Not confident, not victorious, just empty of fear. Andrea met me outside the courthouse with a slim folder under her arm and a look that said she'd slept just fine. They're pushing for the middle, she said. Not what they wanted, not what we wanted, but manageable. I nodded. What does middle look like? You keep the apartment, the car, your retirement. He gets temporary support. 18 months. $800 a month. I didn't flinch. Andrea tilted her head. You okay with that? I thought about the weeks of emails, the attempted break-in, the TikToks, the way my body still tensed when my phone buzzed. Yes, I said, if it buys silence. Andrea smiled faintly. That's what I thought. Inside the courtroom, Noah was already seated. He looked different. Not healthier, not calmer. Performed. He wore all black, tailored, intentional. His hair was neatly styled, his expression carefully solemn, like he was attending his own funeral. When his eyes met mine, they flicked away immediately. Good. I didn't want recognition. I wanted distance. Gwen sat behind him, clutching her purse like a shield. Maya wasn't there. That felt important. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Everyone sat. And just like that, months of my life were reduced to bullet points. Andrea spoke clearly, efficiently. Timeline, documentation, facts. No emotion. No adjectives. Just dates, numbers, screenshots, bank records. Noah's lawyer followed with something that sounded practiced but thin. Phrases like emotional coercion and power imbalance floated through the room without ever quite landing. Then the judge leaned forward. Mr. Pierce, she said, looking directly at Noah, I have a few questions. Noah straightened, ready. Did your wife ever physically prevent you from leaving the home? No, he said quickly. But did she ever restrict your access to joint accounts? He hesitated. She paid the bills. That wasn't my question, the judge said calmly. Did you have access? Yes, he said softer. Did you work during the marriage? Yes. Full time? No. By choice? His jaw tightened. Yes. The judge nodded once, as if checking off boxes only she could see. So, she continued, you chose to work part-time, had access to shared accounts, and lived in a residence owned prior to marriage by your spouse. Noah didn't answer. His lawyer jumped in with something about emotional pressure, but the judge raised a hand. I've reviewed the exhibits, she said, including social media postings dated months before any divorce filing. It appears there was significant narrative building prior to any formal separation. She looked at Noah again. Hard to argue you were trapped while planning your exit. The words weren't cruel. They were final. The settlement was approved. 18 months. $800. Clean split. No further claims. When it was over, Noah stood quickly and walked out without looking back. Gwen followed, shooting me one last glare that felt more tired than angry. Outside the courthouse, she tried one last thing, stepping toward me, mouth already opening. Andrea moved smoothly between us. Ma'am, she said, voice firm, any further contact constitutes harassment. Gwen stopped. They left, just like that. In the car afterward, I sat in silence while Andrea drove. How do you feel? She asked eventually. I thought about it. I'm not heartbroken, I said. I was weeks ago. She nodded. That's normal. What I didn't say was this. I felt like I'd been standing in front of a distorted mirror for months, one that kept insisting I was someone I wasn't. And today, finally, it cracked. 8 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. On paper, it looked neat. Boring, even. A handful of signatures, a stamped date, a settlement that landed somewhere between what Noah demanded and what he deserved. In reality, it felt like walking out of a long, badly ventilated room and realizing, only once you're outside, that you'd been holding your breath the entire time. The apartment changed after that. Not because I redecorated in some dramatic, revenge-fueled way, but because the air was different, quieter, lighter. I repainted the bedroom a soft gray instead of the beige Noah said was safe. I bought new sheets. I moved the couch again, this time more than 6 inches, until the room finally felt like it belonged to one person instead of a compromise. Mine. The first few nights were strange. I'd lie in bed waiting for the tension, waiting for the feeling that I was about to be misunderstood, misquoted, or turned into content. But it never came. Work got better. Not because anything changed there, but because the background noise in my head disappeared. I could focus without wondering if something I said would end up reframed online. I stopped checking my phone every time it buzzed. I stopped bracing myself for the next escalation. Therapy helped. Not the dramatic kind where you sob every session, but the quiet, methodical kind where you slowly realize how many small boundaries you'd given away because keeping the peace felt easier than enforcing them. My therapist said something during our third session that stuck with me. Discovering someone lived a double life doesn't just break trust, she said. It fractures your sense of reality. That was it. I wasn't paranoid. I was recalibrating. Dating didn't happen right away. Marianne tried to set me up once. Nice guy, stable job, pleasant conversation. Halfway through dinner, I realized I was analyzing every sentence he said like it was evidence in court. I excused myself politely and told Marianne later to give me time. She understood. Through mutual friends, the few who stayed neutral, I heard about Noah eventually. He moved 2 hours away, started over, moved in with a new woman he met online. They were official within weeks, smiling in photos like nothing messy had ever happened. Apparently, Gwen adored her. I laughed when I heard that. Not bitterly, just knowingly. I hoped, sincerely, that Noah didn't do to her what he did to me. But I also knew better than to believe people change their patterns just because the stage is new. The strangest part of the aftermath wasn't the silence. It was the relief. The low-level anxiety I'd lived with, the constant sense that I was being evaluated, resented, quietly blamed, was gone. I could speak freely in my own home. I could make decisions without anticipating backlash. I could exist without being cast as a villain in someone else's storyline. I learned a few things from the wreckage. First, trust your gut. I knew something was wrong months before I found that account. I just hoped it wasn't. Second, document everything. Screenshots saved me thousands and preserved the truth when narratives tried to erase it. Third, don't finance someone's resentment. I spent years making Noah comfortable while he quietly built a case against me. Never again. Fourth, social media poisons relationships when performance replaces communication. He didn't just vent online, he rehearsed a role until he believed it. And finally, someone who says they're trapped while actively choosing to stay isn't trapped. They're comfortable. There's a difference. People asked me, after everything, if I regretted how I handled it. The public posts, the receipts, the refusal to stay quiet. The honest answer? No. Noah made our relationship public first. He invited thousands of strangers into our private life to validate a version of himself that required me to be the villain. I didn't invent a story. I corrected one. Could I have handled it quietly? Sure, but then I would have been silent while he kept talking. And silence would have cost me more than money. It would have cost me myself. Now, when I come home at night, the apartment doesn't feel empty. It feels peaceful. The dishwasher hums. The lights warm the room before dusk. The budget app shows green check marks. And for the first time in a long time, that quiet doesn't feel like walking on eggshells. It feels like freedom.